What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Electric Cup running Shadow Manectric in the lead, Hisuian Electrode as a safe swap, and Hidden Power Ground Luxray in the back. Luxray is the only electric type with a ground type fast move available in this meta, so if you have one with Hidden Power Ground, I highly recommend you use it. It really only struggles up against Galvantula, so I've got Hisuian Electrode as the safe swap to draw it out, and you can still do some decent damage with the wild charge. But you have to be very careful about when you throw, because obviously you debuff your defense every time you throw a wild charge, and that does make it easier for them to completely farm you down and come out with a ton of energy from that matchup, which is going to be deadly up against the rest of the team because it is a very glassy team. So perhaps running something like an Alolan Graveler or Alolan Golem in the lead would make more sense, but I wanted to try out the Shadow Manectric as it is a bit spicier in this cup. Now with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What is the most underrated Pokemon in the Electric Cup meta? Let me know in the comment section below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle here, we lead into an Alolan Graveler here, so we will swap out straight away into the Hisuian Electrode, and we do draw out the Galvantula. And you see here, I'm actually going to go for the Energy Ball because I don't want to debuff my defense straight away. I also don't throw the Wild Charge straight away. I don't want them to fully farm me down, so I actually just let them get off the lunge. I'm fine with that. I'm actually just checking to see what my frame rate is because I was having a little bit of an issue with the frame rate here in the first few battles, but I'm now going to go for a Psychic Fangs. We've gotten rid of the Galvantula, and this should pave the way for the Luxray to do very well in the end game here. But I'm going to overfarm. We're actually not running Overheat, which is the recommended moveset, and honestly, I don't think it makes too much of a difference because I am using Manectric in the lead. There aren't that many opportunities where all shields are down, and honestly, my opponents shield pretty much the first move every single time, so I might as well just continue to spam the Psychic Fangs like I'm doing here. And you see we actually landed 3 Psychic Fangs there, or at least through 3 of them. We can now come in with the Luxray. We've still got a shield. I will be able to shield this, fully farm down this Alolan Graveler. They are double weak to the Hidden Power Ground. I'm able to get the full farm down here, get to a Psychic Fangs. My opponent realizes they're not going to be able to win that, and I do win that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to see a Hisuian Electrode in the lead. They're going to swap into an Alolan Graveler, and I already know this is going to be a double rock team here, so I'm actually going to stay in. And because they swapped out after one fast move, I actually get to the second Psychic Fangs on a CMP tie, and I'm happy to get a shield advantage here. This means I don't need to swap out, I don't need to use a shield. I can now come in with the Luxray, fully farm them down. They're going to come back in with the Electrode, so now I'm going to swap into my own. And at this point, we're looking to be in a very good position. They go for the Energy Ball here. They now swap into their Alolan Golem. We're going to go for our own Energy Ball here, and we should be able to make it to another one. But they actually just let it go through. We one-shot them there, and they're going to put it all on their Electrode, but it doesn't matter. We're not in range for them to farm us down, which is perfect, because they will have to expend their energy, and at this point, we've still got 2 shields remaining. We will easily be able to get to a Psychic Fangs here, and then fully farm them down. So we land the Psychic Fangs, they actually just let it go through, and we win that game with 2 shields remaining. Into the next game here, we lead into a Galvantula, so this is where we want to see it, and we actually don't win this matchup, which is unfortunate, but I expect my opponent to throw straight away, so I go for an extra Snarl here, and now we do have enough energy for a potential Overheat, so we're probably going to get a shield in this scenario. We actually don't get the shield, but it doesn't matter. I will be able to get to another Psychic Fangs here, and this does get the shield finally, and they are forced to throw, otherwise I would get to the Psychic Fangs. Lunge does take me out, but now I can come in with my Luxray, get the farm down. They don't get to another lunge here. They're actually going to come in with the Alolan Graveler here, which is very interesting. We're going to go for the Psychic Fangs. We actually threw on alignment, very poor there, but it does allow me to get the full farm down before they can get to a charge move, which actually does very much come in handy, as I'm able to get to another move. Nope, gonna swap into my Electrode here. I will shield up this charge move. It could be a Focus Blast. It is the Focus Blast here, and at this point, there's really no need for me to throw at all. I know that even if they take out my Electrode, I would be able to get off one more hidden power and take out the Ampharos, but anyways, I'm still able to take that game. And into the next game, we're seeing an opponent running the Shadow Manectric. Very nice, you love to see it. We're going to go for a CMP tie here. We see that we win the CMP tie with the Psychic Fangs. They do actually shield it. I'm going to let this go through. I know I can tank it, and then I'm going to swap into my Luxray, but my opponent swaps into the Galvantula, and now I'm really thinking that I should have shielded that first move there, but unfortunately we didn't. They do outpace us to the charge move. We're going to go for the Psychic Fangs here. Hopefully we get a shield, and we do get the final shield from this opponent here. But unfortunately they outpace us once again, and I am going to shield the lunge here, overfarm as much as I can, go for another Psychic Fangs. This should be taking out the Galvantula from this range, but we are very low, and they're actually going to be able to snarl, farm me down, and they've lowered my attack by 2 stages, so Psychic Fangs doesn't do an awful lot of damage. We come in with the Manectric, force them to throw their energy. Psychic Fangs takes us out, and can we get to the wild charge here before they get to the overheat? No, we cannot. And is this an overheat? Yes, it is. It one-shots us, and we do lose that game. So my opponent showing us how we should be playing the Shadow Manectric lead with the overheat. So that just shows you that, yeah, you could run overheat, and it could work very well for you if you play very well like that opponent. But into this game, we led into a Minun. My opponent catches on a Lantern, and that's actually great for us because this means that we can throw one charge move and take out the Lantern, whereas normally it's a bit of a tricky matchup in the zero shield scenario because you can't take out a Lantern with just one energy ball. They go for another Surf here. I'm actually going to go for a Wild Charge. We did debuff their defense, so Wild Charge is enough to take out the Lantern, and we've got an energy ball stored as we did farm to 100 energy. We get a shield from this Minun. Unfortunately they do farm me down, but I'm going to come back in with the Shadow Manectric, go for a Psychic Fangs, and they do let it go through. And at this point I'm pretty happy that I can put my faith into my Luxray, and hopefully they don't have a Galvantula, and we will see here. They go for a Grass Knot, and they're going to swap into an Alolan Graveler, so they don't have the Galvantula, which is perfect. I'm going to go for a Psychic Fangs here just before they get to a charge move. Psychic Fangs does get the final shield, and at this point we can fully farm them down and get to one more Psychic Fangs up against this Minun, and this should be enough from this range to take out the Minun and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. And into the next game here, we lead into a Togedemaru. So this is fairly neutral here. They can really only throw for Fell Stinger or Resisted Wild Charge or Flash Cannon or Gyro Ball, sorry. But they actually swap and catch a Wild Charge onto their Galvantula, which I'm absolutely fine with. I'm not going to swap out here because I don't want to be switch locked. I can now fully farm down the Galvantula, and we should be pretty free to take on whatever they have in the back. They're going to come in with a Minun once again. I'm going to bank my energy, swap into the Hisuian Electrode, and unless they're running Swift, we should be able to resist all of the charge moves here coming from this Minun. We go for the energy ball just before they get to the next charge move, or they can swap out. Now they're going to swap into the Togedemaru. At this point I'm just going to go straight for the Wild Charge. I don't expect them to shield, and this should put them into range where I can fully farm them down. They're going to go for the Fell Stinger. It actually doesn't take us out. I'm going to force them to throw another charge move here to take me out, and at this point I should be able to easily take them out with one hidden power and then just fully farm them down here. Gonna shield up this charge move. I do have a second shield if I want to use it, but I don't think I'll need it here as I'm going to go for the Psychic Fangs. This either gets the shield or gets them low. I'm going to go for one more fast move and then go for a Wild Charge just because I can, and Wild Charge takes out the Minun, and I take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, my opponent running Spice once again with an Electivire. Very nice pick here. We're going to overfarm, and they throw on a potential CMP tie, so I will shield it up, and that does allow me to get a full snarl through, which really puts me at a massive advantage in this matchup. We also get a shield with the Psychic Fangs, meaning this one will do big damage. Actually, they go and shield it up, which is fine with me. They now get to another Ice Punch. I'm going to shield this up up. I don't want to put this energy to waste, as I would probably have to use a shield on a different Pokemon if I let Manectric go down, but they make a very nice catch onto an Alolan Raichu, another fairly spicy Pokemon for this meta. We're going to swap into the Electrode here. They have to go for the Psychic. They actually get a defense drop, and we're going to go for a Wild Charge here, and it doesn't even matter that we're 3-stage debuff because they can't farm me down with the Electivire, but they've actually got an Acid Electros, which is a very interesting Pokemon here, something I certainly did not expect to see. So my opponent very easily outspicing me in this battle. You love to see it. They swap back into the Electivire. I anticipated it, go for the Psychic Fangs here, and now they are going to be able to get off a charge move, but I should be able to fully Snarl farm them down, and I'm going to get to a Wild Charge. This is easily enough to take out this Electros, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent. I definitely appreciate the spice there. I will admit I tried to run a slightly spicier team than this, and it just did not work at all, so this is what I settled with in the end. And here we're going to lead into a rollout Alolan Golem, go straight for the Wild Charge. It does big damage, and now I'm going to swap into my Electrode, and we do bait out the Galvantula, which is great. We're going to go for a Wild Charge here. This is risky. We do debuff our defense. I shouldn't throw the second one straight away. I should try and force them to throw, but instead I go for the Wild Charge. They let it go through, and you'll see here they get a full Fury Cutter farm down, and that puts us at a massive disadvantage. Almost pretty much guarantees we're going to lose this game. Remember, the Alolan Golem in the lead does have a ton of energy. We get one shot by a lunge there, and they will be able to debuff my attack here and permanently debuff us, as we can no longer switch out, and they even get to another lunge. I have to shield this move here, but that's going to be game over. They rightly so swap into the Alolan Golem, go for a Stone Edge, take out my Luxray, and take that game. So well played by my opponent, very poorly played by myself, but that's how it goes sometimes. Into the next game here, we see a Hisuian Electrode in the lead, and we're going to go for the Psychic Fangs, potentially baiting like we've got an Overheat, and we do get the shield, which is great. Gonna shield up the Wild Charge. They go for the Wild Charge for some reason, and then they catch onto the Lantern, and once again, like I said earlier, this is actually great for me. I will actually farm to the Wild Charge and then swap into my Electrode, and here it does mean we can actually just go for a single Wild Charge and then take out this Lantern. I will let them get off 2 Surfs because I want to be fairly low if they have something like a Galvantula in the back, but not low enough that they can farm me down with their own Electrode. So I'm going to go for the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge takes out the Lantern, and we do have the Energy Ball for the Electrode coming back in. Energy Ball does some decent damage. It is resisted, does about 40%, maybe 35%. My opponent swaps and catches the Wild Charge onto their Galvantula, which is absolutely perfect for me because now we can just go for a Psychic Fangs. They let this go through, and now we can fully Snarl, farm them down, come out with another Psychic Fangs here, and this is pretty much going to be game over for my opponent. It's a CMB tie. No, it isn't, but they throw straight away. Energy Ball takes out the Manectric. We can come in with our Luxray, safely shield this, and fully farm down this Electrode and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we lead into another Galvantula, so where we want to see it, and I'm okay with soft losing this lead. I am going to go for 1 extra. My opponent also goes for 1 extra, and we win the CMP tie, and we do get the shield, which is great. We do lower their defense. They're going to lower our attack, so it kind of counters that out, but it doesn't matter too much. Gonna go for another Psychic Fangs here, and they do let it go through. This time they actually swap into their Electrode, so I'm gonna debuff them and then eventually swap into my Electrode, and this just makes this a lot easier for me because I can now safely land 1 Energy Ball, and that will take them out. But they go for a Wild Charge here. Not really sure why they're doing that. It is double resisted. They've now fully debuffed their defense, and at this point, any charge move probably would have taken them out. So maybe I should have gone for the Wild Charge. Doesn't really matter too much. We get to another Wild Charge here up against this Galvantula. We get the shield, and the opponent throws instead of committing to a farm down, and this makes it a lot easier for me. And we'll see what I do now. We're going to come in with the Luxray. They swap into a Lantern, Water Gun Lantern. kind of difficult to deal with, but all shields are down on my opponent's end, so a wild charge after a few more hidden powers will be enough to take out this Lantern, and we should just be one fast move away from another Psychic Fangs up against this Galvantula, and from this range, Psychic Fangs is enough to take out the Galvantula and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there, and into the next battle we lead into a Lantern, and honestly, I'm not really expecting them to shield the first move here, because typically the moveset we should be running is Psychic Fangs and Overheat. I'm going to overfarm, go for the back-to-back wild charges here, really not expecting them to shield the first one, but my opponent does shield it. It doesn't matter, we have a second wild charge. Do they want to go down both shields? No, they don't. That does massive damage, but they can farm me down. And here, all I had to do was come in with the Electrode, but I wasn't paying attention. I'm pretty sure I was watching someone's stream at the time, and I end up coming in with my Luxray, and I think we've just thrown the game away there. We could have got a very healthy farm down on that Lantern, not used the shield, and now they've got the Galvantula in the back. That's going to be game over. There's not a lot we can do here. We can potentially land one wild charge, get to a second wild charge, but this Galvantula will fully farm me down and get to a charge move. And at this point, I don't think they're in Psychic Fang's range, so I do go for the extra fast move instead. Lunge takes us out. We can't really overfarm too much, as they would pretty much put us into range where Thunder Shocks will take us out. We're going to get to a Psychic Fangs here up against the Electrode, but we are attack debuffed, and this wouldn't take them out anyway, and we do lose that game. So really just not paying attention, and that has cost me this game. Not really sure how it would have panned out if I came in with the Electrode, but we surely would have had a much better chance of winning. And into the final battle here, we lead into a Galvantula, once again going for the extra, and I do get that snarl through as they throw on the alignment. We're going to go for a Psychic Fangs here. We could have the Overheat, and we do get a shield from this Galvantula. Gonna overfarm, actually go for a Wild Charge this time. Bit risky, but Wild Charge also gets shielded, which is unfortunate, but they allow me to get to a Psychic Fangs. This won't take them out, but it should get them very low. They're actually going to swap out into an Alolan Graveler here. We're going to come in with the Luxray. They get the charge move just before we get to a Psychic Fangs. Doesn't matter, we can fully farm them down, and we will win the CMP tie if they come back in with the Galvantula, which they do. We can go for the Psychic Fangs here. They are very low. This will be taking out the Galvantula, and they come in with a Lantern here. Not sure if I make it to the Wild Charge. Doesn't matter. We've got Hisuian Electrode in the back. We get their defense lowered, and my opponent is eventually going to concede the match, and we take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. A little bit shorter than usual, but this meta doesn't have a lot of variety, so I didn't want to include too many battles that were very similar. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications, and that way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got Vin Nguyen, who says, Tentacle has been my MVP for most matches. If you manage to be able to counter switch Tentacle into something, it mostly leaves that match having close enough energy to being able to land another Acid Spray for the following Pokemon, which leaves you in a pretty good spot. By the way, congrats on level 50, bro, so thank you. And yeah, Tentacle seems to be a very strong Pokemon, bit underrated in the Weather Cup meta. Next, we got Yveltal Pokemon, who says, Dragon Breath, Shadow Charizard, many expect Wing Attack and Blind Swap out and lose Switch. Obviously not going to do very well up against something like a Bastiodon, but it doesn't really matter what fast move you run on Charizard. That's always going to be an awful matchup, but I assume with Pokemon like Swampert, you can probably just 2-shield, fully farm them down, and come out with a ton of loaded energy. And finally, we've got Brian K, who says Ludicolo, but with Bubble, Leaf Storm, and Hydro Pump. So running double nukes, and I could see how running Bubble instead of the Razor Leaf could throw your opponents off guard. Also does actually allow you to get to those charge moves a lot faster, and if all shields are down, that combination of charge moves is going to hit pretty much everything for massive damage. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.